Right now we are 15, and it's very heavily skewed towards software engineering. 13 software engineers, one head of talent, and myself.
Yep.
And as we transition towards selling to customers, we're going to need to probably double the size of our software engineering team, and also bring on all of the other functions. And we've been very careful over the last 2.5 years to build a team that is a set of software engineering teams that operate almost completely autonomously and with full responsibility and ownership. I think that if my co-founder and I dropped everything and went off to Patagonia for a month, not that we're going to, but if
I was just in Patagonia in December, but yes.
It's where all the VCs go.
Yes, exactly.
But if we were to do that, I think the company would run absolutely fine, and maybe 3 or 4 emails would be enough to keep us moving forwards, and we treasure this.
Yes.
But we're starting to wonder if that itself can scale. Can we, as we move from 1 product with 3 teams to 6 products, for example, with a number of teams, can we maintain that kind of autonomy with very little structure and very little management, or do you think we'll run into huge issues?
Well, part of it is you're scaling a company, you kind of start like the size you're at, you're all in a room, you all have an exact shared mindset. There really isn't communications difficulties because when people have a question, they lean across. I suspect you're in some equivalent of a big room, but there may be a little bit of configuration. That will change. You get to 50 people and you can't all work in the same room effectively. It's too noisy, it's too difficult, et cetera. And so you begin to change the patterns of information, flow, collaboration, kind of what's happening, what's the coherence in the direction, and that's a natural part of scaling. It's also a natural part, as you mentioned, of adding in different functions, because it's like, look, I'm really focused on the sales function. I'm really focused on the product management function. I do need to know about the engineering functions. I need to know what's going on. But like, for example, the in-depth architectural difference, or this is what the huge rev's going to be. This is how we're going to take our software and make it more platform and more modular. Product management needs to know that. Sales probably only needs to know aspects of that. And so then you begin to have more of a differences of what's going on because not everyone's in the same headspace. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't go through phases where you're targeting an ability to run really efficiently and operationally, and you shouldn't be able to be, a single person path dependent. Where like, oh my God, if you went away for a month, the company stops. That's a disaster. You want to keep the resilience of that. But you're going to be going through phases where, especially as you're adding in new functions, adding in new products, adding in new scale, executive founders are going to be deeply in it to make sure you're hiring the right people, culture's the right people. Like, for example, one of the interviews in Masters of Scale that's going to be coming out sometime in the next couple of months is with my partner at Greylock, Anil Busri, who's the CEO and co-founder of Workday. One of the things that he said on the interview was he literally interviewed all of the first 500 employees for cultural fit, right? Because he wanted to make sure that the cultural fit was there. And part of that was because he was training all the managers and everyone else how important that was. And whenever they did a rejection on cultural fit, because he was the last interview, he and his partner Dave, would come to them and say, look, this is why. Because then after 500, he knew that they then had learned it. Like, he doesn't do cultural fit interviews anymore because it's so deeply embedded in the company. Well, that's something that, for example, at 15, he wouldn't go to Patagonia and say, oh yeah, you guys got this and everything else. He would still make sure that it's there. And so there's ways in which you're key to solving these new problems and solving these problems in the foundation as you get to scale. And you will continue to try to be operationally efficient such that things run well, they hit well, even without you there. But it's going to be a lot of work to continue to go there as you add products and as you add scale.